Hello, Facebook modelers. Now, having had the arrival of my new class 310, which, let's get the elephant out of the room first, shall we? Cost me £800. I just thought I'd show you what the Wednesford EMU fleet is going to look like. Now, if you're modelling the West Midlands in the from 1968 to 1994, you really are going to need electric multiple units. And of course, at the minute, there's no ready to run examples available. So what I've done is I've ended up buying a couple of second-hand models from eBay, and I've commissioned two hand-built examples from Britannia Pacific Models, which are the most expensive trains of the lot. And more by luck than judgment, I've managed to accommodate all the principal timetable periods that I want to run. So starting with the 310, which is the latest example, I have to say some of you will have probably seen the video that I shared of Peter testing it before he sent it. Peter doesn't exactly do himself any favours, I have to say, with his videos, because he does lots of quite cruel close-ups which make the model look a lot worse than it actually is. Now, this is a fantastic model, and at normal viewing distances looks absolutely spot on. It's a composite construction of brass, plastic and resin, and although the current retail price is £895, and for that you don't get lighting or anything like that. You do get DCC capability, and it's now started fitting magnetic couplings, which I have to say are fantastically close coupling. But yes, it does depend on what you think is value for money. There isn't a ready to run class 310 available, so if you want one, you've got two choices basically: trying to source a Southern Pride kit, which are rarer than hen's teeth after an extraction, or buying one of Peter's models. So the way I look at it is, I don't do holidays. For me, a fortnight on the costard chav getting skin cancer just does not appeal. But that would set you back probably north of £800. When I used to go on rail tours way back in the 90s, I'd be doing 4 or 5 a year. Well, you're lucky to get a seat in standard for 100, and if you want a bit more luxury, you're probably looking at £200. So the fact that I don't do rail tours anymore, the fact that I don't do holidays, because I think they're just a waste of money, because a fortnight after you're back you've forgotten everything. To me, spending £800 on a train that will outlive me is a better use of my resources. Other opinions, of course, are available. Just like backsides, everybody has an opinion, and just like backsides, they often spout a load of hot air. But in this case, I'd rather spend money on this work of art than getting bladdered skin cancer, liver cancer on some holiday. So this is why I justified spending 800 sheets. I did get £100 loyalty discount for having ordered the Flying Banana there previously. But yeah, it looks the business. Now, the other value for money aspect of this is, as you'll notice, I've had it customized so that it's displaying at one end 2H67 to Manchester, and at the other end to G67 to Birmingham. And that covers both 1968 and 1975. And that is an actual diagram that 310s were regularly diagrammed for. It was a semi-fast service from Birmingham to Manchester. The unit would then be probably borrowed for a couple of runs down to Altrincham or Crewe, and then to come back on a semi-fast back to Birmingham. Later years it started back at Walsall. So the unit is based on a real life example, and in so doing it will provide unit cover for 1968 and 1975 timetables that I'm planning around. Now next to that you'll see a 4-car Class 304. Now this is one that Peter made years ago from a DC kit base. I recognise it because I'm in the middle of painting up a Class 304 kit that I've had for some years, of which more later. Now this was an eBay purchase, and as you can see it's in Bangor blue but with domino head codes. So this would be absolutely bob on for 1980, when the vast majority of 304s were still blue. In fact, I think only one had emerged in blue-grey, and there were no head codes. So my 1980 operating period, I've got the 4-car Class 304. Now you'll notice the motor coach is currently off its chassis. That's because I need to adapt it to DCC, and so I've taken the body off, extracted the motor bogie, so it'll be at some point DCC chipped before I actually run it on the layout, which at the minute of course is all packed up in boxes, having moved house. Next to that we've got the unit that identifies as a banana, and this just about covers 1988. When I ordered this I was planning to run a timetable based around 1986, but I pushed it forward to 1988. Now 312204 carried this experimental West Midlands PTE livery, was the only one so treated, and it appears may have been an attempt to create a whole new identity for Humpty, because at about the same time a small fleet of metro buses turned up in various garish versions of yellow and blue, allegedly as an experimental idea for how time-saver express buses might work in the post-deregulation era. And so this possibly may have been painted in this colour scheme to match the express buses. However, the then Director General hated the yellow, and I don't blame him, and so this remained a one-off. Now, coming back to 1988, I've seen photos of this on Flickr running in about April 1988, and after that it disappears. And in September 1988 there's a picture of it at Wolverton Open Day, having been nonced and renumbered, ready for its transfer to the Great Eastern. So sometime between April and September it entered Wolverton Works for a repaint and a refurb. So I'm going to have to be a little bit timescale fluid on this one, but as my unit identifies as a banana, why should we change? Why should we challenge that? So it's debatable whether it ran in the summer of '88 in this colours, but it's close enough. It makes no never mind as far as I'm concerned. And then the final one is another eBay purchase. This time a Southern Pride 3-car Class 304/3, and this unit's probably done. This model has probably done as many miles as the real units, in that I bought it from a guy in Cannock off Tap Bay. I then passed it on to Simon for Penderford Yard. When he changed his mind and went for Milton Junction, it came back to me and has now moved house across Fairbourne. So it's been around the block a bit. And it's a nice model. No interior detail, but you know, it just captures the last few years of the 304s. And if you look closely at the front, you'll notice it does have a high intensity headlight, which means it is strictly post 1992. Well, as my last timetable era is going to be 1994, and these units were still bouncing around the West Midlands at that time, then that's pretty much spot on. So I've got my 4 units for the 4 timetable periods: 68 and 75 on the left, 80 in the middle, 88, the flying banana, and 94. Now, this is where it gets interesting because, of course, recently Daypol have announced a Class 323, which is why I've pushed the last timetable period back to 94. So, in theory, when that is released in about 18 months' time, I will end up with 2 units covering the 1994 period. Now, 1968 and 75, I've got a DC Kits Class 304, which I started construction on. Well, I've painted it so far, and I'm going to be assembling it when I've got a bit more time. And I'll probably do that as with head codes so that it'll be a second unit for 68 and 75. And that's because in those periods, there was a lot more EMU operation than there was local hold operation between Wolverhampton and Birmingham. So that then leaves the middle period, 1980 and 1988. So I'm thinking, once I sell my other house, possibly of commissioning a third unit from Peter to a Britannia Pacific, this time a blue-grey Class 310, which will fit in nicely alongside the blue 304001 and the unit that identifies as a banana. But that will depend on me selling my house, the other one, the slum. If anybody wants a slum in Fairbourne, I'm your man. So there you go. That's the unit fleet. So I've got coverage for all the main timetable periods. The awkward one, of course, is the fact that I went for the flying banana because that is so distinctive. It can't pretend to be anything else, can it? It identifies as a banana. It is a banana. Whereas, a Bangor Blue 304 looks much like any other Bangor Blue 304 if you don't look at the unit numbers. But there we go. That's the EMU fleet that I've assembled in bits and drabs and at enormous expense. But as I say, I don't do holidays and waste my time getting skin cancer. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. And who knows, next time it might actually be running on a layout if I can evict the Doncaster layout from my garage. They've got till May, and then it's being broken up, I think. So there we go. Facebook modelers, over and out.